Let's tell you about this now. The case of a school governing body member in Johannesburg charged with sexually assaulting a pupil at a matric farewell has been postponed to next year. That case was opened on the 10th of December at Magaliesburg Police Station, and the SGB member was arrested that same day. We speak now to Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona on this and plenty more happening in the education space. Good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for availing yourself. What do we need to know about this particular incident? What happened?
Thanks very much. Without detailing much, because you know where there's a criminal matter, the court will then hear on what might have transpired. We know that there was a farewell function for the grade 12s who were celebrating them, leaving the education sector. And they were accompanied by SGB members, educators, and to a certain extent some of the parents that were there. And it is alleged that grade 12 was then allegedly sexually assaulted. We don't want to go into detail in terms of the circumstances because that will form part of the court process. But we have provided counseling. Actually, we interacted with the family, but we could not provide it because if there's a case of this nature, the police need to lead that process of making sure that the victim is receiving necessary counseling. So we could not proceed with it, but though we have reached out, and they will be making a follow-up with the police just to understand on how the victim is being supported.
Okay, yeah, because I wanted to ask how the victim is doing, really, essentially.
Well, we were with the family today at court. They were not happy about many things. Well, to a certain extent, they did indicate that they feel that the support is not enough. Hence, we've assured them that we will interact with the police to make sure that the victim is supported. And also they raised the issue about the school management, that they are not happy the way this matter was handled. And we have then launched an investigation because we understand that there's an educator who played a role, which we need to understand on what is it that he was doing. And the principal, who is alleged that did not do anything, to report the matter to the district until the community put pressure on the school to report on this matter. So all those will then have to investigate on what might have transpired there. The other issues about the SGB, the functionality of the SGB, which is questionable according to the members of the community, we said we'll work very closely with the district to get more information, because we cannot just disband this SGB. We need the facts, we need information that is going to assist us through the head of the department, HOD, will then ask them questions why they must not be disbanded. But the MEC has already indicated that, look, we need to monitor that SGB very closely. So you know that people are on leave now, things are quite slow. It's only us who are working. So we will then make sure that when people come back on leave, or from leave rather, we will then fast-track the process of the SGB and all these other investigations that we have launched.
You mentioned that the victim's family is unhappy because they believe they're not getting enough support. In what way?
Well, they said that when they were asked a question about how the victim is being supported. Hence, we then, there and there, said to them, we will then interact with the police. Because remember, if a victim is sexually violated, the police have a responsibility of making sure that the victim is supported, whether through counseling or any other professional assistance. So as a department, we will not be then in a position, parallel to that process, to also get our professionals to do the same, because it will be more of humiliation, if one were to put it that way.
So she's yet to be offered counseling?
Yes, according to the family. And we said we will make follow-ups and make sure that at least she received the necessary support that she deserves.
Okay. A report by the South African Council of Educators has painted a rather bleak picture in terms of what's happening in South African schools. I'm not sure if you're privy to that report. It revealed that there's 191 cases of sexual misconduct involving teachers in South Africa. And so how concerned are you as a department about this, and what really is to be done, tangible things that can be done?
Well, we are concerned about any violation that happens in our environment. You might look at the number and say probably, comparatively speaking, looking at the number of educators we have, and you will then probably want not to look at it. But we take such reports seriously as the department, to a certain extent that in Gauteng, if there's an indication that those cases are at certain areas, we'll then interact with the necessary districts and make sure that we continue the process of conducting workshops that we normally conduct. But those that would have been perpetrators, normally they would not be in the system already. Because if you are found guilty of sexually assaulting, in our environment, you will then be expelled. And like as that report comes from says, they will then not issue you with a certificate to educate anywhere in the country. But we still have a responsibility to make sure that we continue with the workshops that we conduct in our schools with a unit that is responsible for sexual assault, be it in our environment, in all the districts, in the head office, including schools. Look at all employees, how do they behave, how they need to behave, among our employees and the learners. In that environment, we continue to make sure that we workshop them and make sure that they behave the way that is acceptable.
Are teachers screened before they are hired? Is there a background check to see if this person has done something of this nature before?
Yes, teachers are vetted to a certain extent, that you will not have a teacher that has violated anyone in our environment. We conduct that process, and we make sure that before they enter our system already, the vetting process is done and the certificate is issued.
An update maybe on the online application system? I know, it's downtime, but in 2 days' time, it's January, and so parents will be running around trying to find everything for their little ones when schools open.
Yes, we've opened the system on the 20th of December for late applications. Those that would have not applied, the system will go up until the 31st of January. But we've seen, most of those that have applied, they've been allocated space already, because what we did was to avail schools that have space in the system. Those that would have been full, they would not be in the system. So if you access the system, you choose a school, you are then placed. You don't need to wait for any day or 1 or 2. So, but you'll understand that we were not done when people went to recess with our process of placing. We are about 4,000 unplaced. But when we check now in the system, we have less than 2,000 unplaced. And it's only in the high pressure areas. There are areas where we would not be in a position to place those that would have applied there. And what we are doing now is to place them in the alternative spaces. But some of them they don't want to accept for different reasons, of course. But we are working very closely with parents to make sure that we give them alternative space so that they can then be placed. So the situation will rather be better next year when you look at the numbers that we have already, comparatively speaking.
Okay. And of course, next year we're also expecting the matric results to be announced. Is there anything different that the department is doing, especially to catch or assist or give counseling to those who may not have made it, to say this is not the end, right? It's only actually the beginning?
We have partnered with the Child's Life in Gauteng, just to make sure that all those learners that think, or candidates rather, who seek assistance, they can, contact that number. It's 111. It's a free number. Dial there, interact. Prepare yourself. Probably, if you are skeptical that you might not been one that is lucky that have passed, how to handle the situation. You can dial there. The professionals are there. They will assist, with necessary counseling. We are hopeful that we're going to do well in terms of our overall results, because we prepared our candidates. We did all that we could, and we think that we will do well. We normally tell Free State that it's a temporary setup that we
competition there.
Looking at the numbers, but we are more concerned about quality passes. So we have a number of bachelor passes which are appropriate, and we will always be happy about that.
What can you learn, though, from the Free State, right? Because there's always tag competition each year with the Free State yourselves and, of course, other provinces.
No, we actually don't need to compare us with the Free State, because when you look at their numbers, they don't have bigger numbers like as we have. That's why we normally focus on a pass. What kind of a pass do we have? How many bachelor passes do we have? We have, in the previous cycle, we had 55,000 bachelor passes, which, when you take that number, all the universities in Gauteng will take that number, all of them from Gauteng. So that's what we focus on. And you know that we've introduced schools of specialization, where we make sure that those learners from the high school level, they can go to the corporate world, looking at what they can produce at that level. Many things that are happening in different disciplines that they manage to excel in. Some, they have built a locomotive using solar panels. There's a vehicle that is solar propelled as well, a vehicle that they produced. You look at the robotic world, how they manage to, interact with those, some of us don't know anything about those. So they are empowered to a certain extent that most of them, they can go in the corporate world and employ other people.
What's the uptake at the schools of specialization?
That's the busiest part of our intake. Everyone wants to go there, because when we started, people didn't believe on what we were doing. And the former MEC, now the current Premier, would have told you that he saw that there's a gap when coming to the skilled environment, and he felt that let's introduce this and see on how we can change. Now everyone wants to go to the school of specialization because of what we produce there, and it's a good thing. Actually, we are saying all provinces should have such schools. To a certain extent, that some, they are coming to consult with Gauteng to say how do we introduce this. But Department of Basic Education nationally, they have actually introduced the program to support all other provinces to say let's introduce this element of skills-oriented education, so that learners don't focus on academia, because all of us wanted to go to university, only to find that you can still do well without you going to university.
Thank you very much. Steve Mabona speaks for the Gauteng Basic Education Department, and a safe passage into the new season. Thank you.
Thank you.